What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another cybersecurity live stream. My name is DC. If you haven't come here before, welcome. If you're coming back again, welcome back. It's great to see you here and to see all your beautiful messages popping into the chat. I've, as you can see, I've changed things slightly, so I'm just trying to get the mic level right. So that it's basically not too crazy and loud. So let me know if I'm blasting your ears or if it's good. Let me know. I'm keen to hear. Today we are talking, hopefully, with IT career questions, also known as Zach. He's a great guy that I've talked to before in the past on his channel, and I wanted to have a chat with him on my channel. So I'm just waiting for him to turn up. But until that happens, what I've thought I would do today is to give you a rundown of how I got started in cybersecurity, and basically how everything sort of started for me. So I thought it'd be an interesting topic to get the ball rolling. I'll do a little bit of a Q&A session at the end for anyone who's keen to I guess have a chat and ask some questions at the end. And hopefully at some point Zach will turn up here and be able to join in and have a chat, which will be great. For Sahith Ahmad, unable to watch the stream at the moment, is the recording going to be available? Yes. All of these live streams get uploaded later onto my channel. They're available on Twitch and as well as my Facebook page. If you want to go over there, if anyone uses Facebook, I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, you're more than welcome to. So getting started, I guess, how did I sort of get myself into cybersecurity? It's kind of an interesting story because it did happen a very long time ago now. When I originally got started in cybersecurity, it wasn't really cybersecurity, to be completely honest. It was more like basically like network security, or what network security engineers do now. So I'll start right at the very beginning. Originally, I was working as an IT, I guess, service desk type person. I used to go out. This is when I was still studying. So way back in 2006, I was studying and working for a call out to your house IT company here in Brisbane, Australia. It was good. It was good fun. I had a lot of fun in that job. I also worked at a bar, and I had tried to start my own like web development business thing, but that didn't quite turn out the way I wanted to. But that's okay. I was always thinking of how I could, use different skills to do different things that interested me. So I was working that job for a little while and started doing those things, which was fun and good. Then I moved on to working as a, I don't really remember what the title was, but basically it was like an IT guy at a school. So they didn't have any like IT staff at the school. They just had their computer teacher, who was the essentially the IT guy at that school. So they employed me to come in there in the early morning. So I'd go there from 6 a.m. until midday. And then from midday, I'd go to my other job to call out to people's houses and fix their computers, basically. So lots of old people needing, virus software, or their computer shit itself, basically. And then at nighttime, I would work in a bar. So I had the three jobs at the same time, which was it was full on, but it was a lot of fun. And I had a lot of energy back then as well, so it was pretty easy to get that going. After that, I got a job at a. I ended up quitting all of those jobs because eventually it became too much. I mean, working from 6 a.m. until maybe 2 a.m. and then doing it again after 4 hours sleep almost every day of the week, it takes it out of you. So I definitely wouldn't recommend that. But I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot of stuff and made lots of great friends. I then moved on to my own first real business, which was basically a computer repair shop, where I also did, I was trying to focus on the business IT market because there wasn't a lot of like business IT support, boutique support in Brisbane here in Australia. So yeah, I tried to take an angle there, and I had a few customers that were paying like a recurring fee to look after their systems and keep everything patched and happy and good. So that was fun. I did that for a few years. Then I sold that business and moved on to a managed service provider. My first ever managed service provider. I was there for a pretty long time. I met lots of great people. They helped with my education as well, to push me. So I'd already finished studying at this point as well, by the way. So I did that, focusing mostly on networking, because they wanted me to be a network engineer. And that was sort of what interested me at the time. So that's exactly what I did. I did the CCNA, became a network engineer, like a qualified one, which was good. And yeah, I did that for a pretty long time. And then there's like a long time for me is like 3 years. So in between here, I changed jobs to another MSP, but they focused mostly on like accountants and the legal system, I guess. So lots of legal practices and accountants, which turned out to be probably the worst customers I've ever worked with. They just weren't very fun to talk with, and I mean the work was quite basic, and they just seemed to be they knew it all already, apparently, even though they were calling us for help. So it was interesting. I lasted there for 10 months and ended up working at my first ever sort of government agency, or government funded agency, I should say. So I moved into there as a senior systems engineer. So I went away from just doing networking to doing all sorts of systems like backups, networking, lots of cloud migration stuff, because that was starting to become a new and big thing. Office 365 had pretty much just come out at the time, and a thing called the Telstra IP telephony system had also just been released, which was how do I even say it? It's like it's a really bad VoIP system that's really locked down and hard to manage. Well, it's easy to manage, but anyway, it's expensive and you get very little control out of it. So I was doing that for about a year and a half. And then I sort of found an opportunity to work in the city. And I'd always wanted to work in the city, and this was for an actual government agency. So I thought, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Let's give that a go and see how it goes, I guess. So yeah, I moved into that job, and I worked there for 2 years. And the job was primarily as a network security engineer. So I'd gone back to networking. It was meant to be a 12-month contract, but I was there for 2 years. And that job was good, because that was this is where it starts getting to cybersecurity. So network security engineer, they had some firewalls that they needed to be migrated to. They also had all of the like a full networking refresh. So they had switches. There's like 7 switches on each floor across 15 different floors, I think it was. And they needed all of them changed out. New phone system, like VoIP system. Yeah, the whole thing. They had a desktop replacement thing happening as well, which was kind of fun. I had a piece in that with basically migrating and cleaning up their group policies, which if you've ever had to do that before, if any of you guys have ever done that before, it's terrible. It's not fun at all. It's yeah, really not that fun. But the networking side of things was very fun, and I did enjoy that quite a lot. And moving the firewalls across from, they had this stack of like Juniper firewalls that would essentially DDoS themselves, just from the amount of traffic in the organization. So they constantly fell over and died, and they were trying to, like, you know, pair with each other for redundancy, but it would just be a constant flick of them dying, which was great. So we moved them to some much beefier checkpoint firewalls, and that's where I sort of got a major interest in cybersecurity and learning about all the things that were a part of cybersecurity and how all of that sort of panned out, which was pretty good. This then moved to an opportunity at another government agency based out of Canberra, and that was an interesting one. I ended up working primarily in a satellite office, which was a lot of fun. And that was mostly in social engineering, but also had a piece in a blue team SOC environment, which was kind of cool. So that was my first like real, I guess, cybersecurity job. At this point, I had no certifications, but they were willing to pay me for certifications and obviously government clearance to work in that job. So I got my MV1, MV2, and I was looking towards going towards positive vetting, which was fun. It's an interesting task to get through that one, just based on the psych evaluation stuff that happens. And yeah, that was really interesting. I also did my OSCP. I failed the first time, for anyone who doesn't know, and it was good. I had at that time a couple of Microsoft certifications. I'd leveled myself up in networking to a CCNP. I had the collection of CompTIA certs at that time, and I'd leveled myself up to be very technical, but ended up doing a not so technical job at all, which was fun. And it was interesting. It was an interesting sort of, I guess, change up into things that I thought I knew. So it was kind of fun. I did that job for a little while, and that contract eventually expired, which I knew it was going to eventually, but that's perfectly fine. So I did what everyone else does who has clearance and started my own business with another guy, doing basically cybersecurity, programming, managed services for different businesses. And I've been sort of subcontracting myself from that business for the last 5-6 years now. Maybe 7 years now, actually. Yeah, about 7 years, which has been very interesting. So subcontracting myself to different organizations and businesses to give them that, cybersecurity massage, which has been very fun. And that's basically how I got into cybersecurity. Now, I'm still waiting on Zach here to reply to any of my messages. So unfortunately, it looks like Zach might be out of this live stream, which is a shame, but that's okay. We'll kick on without him. And I guess I'll go over to the Q&A stuff if you guys are keen for a bit of Q&A. Let me see if I can turn on the managed overlay chat stuff without breaking anything. So let's see where this goes on my screen, because I have moved all of this stuff around to make more sense in the other type of interview screen. So let's have a look if I can do that. No, that's okay. I'll just answer the questions as they come through. You guys can see it on the left-hand side here anyway, what people are asking. There's not a huge amount of questions coming in. Let's see who's in here, so we can have a chat. We can, let's all talk. We've got Stephen Comtois. Welcome, dude. Good to see you here. Newbie Guitar. Love your name. Saith Ahmad. I think he's already gone. We have Pone, i.e. Pony Luva. Sure. Jerry Azagba, welcome back. Angelina Fu, what's up? Nedsec, cool. What's up, dude? Wrench, Shivani Samant, and Prakadesh. Welcome, everybody, to this super fun live stream. If you've just joined us, if you've just jumped in here, I basically just did an introduction of how I got started in cybersecurity, and essentially how it was a bit of a mistake. I didn't mean to get into cybersecurity. I just thought it'd be kind of cool to try it. And having the experience of sysadmin and network engineering at the time, as well as a lot of customer support, they sort of brought me in there and nurtured me through into what I do now, which is fun. I mean, it's a fun story, I think. Shivani, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'd love to answer your questions and see how I can potentially help you with any questions you have. Drop them in the chat. I can see one here from Shivani Samant. I'll answer his question in just a moment. At the moment, I am trying to see if I can get a hold of Zach, but I'll get back to him in a second. So Shivani says how much time it takes to have a very good amount of knowledge about cybersecurity field. Knowledge is like a sea, but still I want to know. Yeah, the first thing is you need a boat to sail that sea. So what I mean by that is the motivation to be able to actually want to learn the things that you need to learn. With any boat in any ocean, you need to know what your destination is as well. Otherwise, you're just going to be sailing around forever. So out of the analogies and silly, I guess, backwards ways of explaining things, what you need to do is first focus on what you want to do in cybersecurity. So what area of cybersecurity do you want to maybe specialize in the most? That's a very important question to ask yourself, because it will help answer how to actually get there to doing what it is that job is. Learning about everything in any subject of any industry is it's going to make you essentially a jack of all trades, but a master of nothing, which is good in a way, in many ways, but it's also bad in lots of other ways. So you really need to think about what you want to push towards as your main focus, and then study the relevant certifications, gain as much experience in that direction as you possibly can. Next question is from Stephen Comtois, and he says, at this point in time, would you recommend trying to get straight into an InfoSec role or to transition into one like you did? I think this is a question that can be answered in a different direction, which is, if you have a look at most of the jobs, and the number one thing that people complain about, it's that cybersecurity jobs are, the entry-level jobs require experience. Now, the thing they don't tell you is that these jobs require experience in something relevant, like in IT as a field already. So if you have experience in, say, network engineering or network security engineering or sysadmin or cloud stuff, then that is relevant experience, because those are the systems you're likely protecting. Just like with application security, if you want to get a job in application security, chances are you're going to need to know a little bit about software development. So that's sort of why they ask for that experience, is because they expect you to have already learnt how to use those systems and potentially build them to then be able to protect them or break into them. So that's, I would say, to answer your question, I think it's still better to transition into a role. It's definitely going to help you out in the long run. If you are able to get directly into cybersecurity though, depending on the job, yeah, it can be done for sure. Rio Whitehouse, welcome, dude. I think you just finished a thing on the Safer Internet project. He says, started my career in a similar way, from help desk tech role to sole sysadmin looking after a bunch of Cisco gear, $750,000 worth of equipment in a K-12 school, and they didn't ask for a CCNA or CCNP. Yeah, me either. I think times have changed considerably since back then, though, to be completely honest. Rymac says, what kind of government job is there for cybersecurity engineers or any cybersecurity related field, irrespective of country? They're all pretty much blue team roles. So if they have anything, it's going to be like GRC. There's lots of GRC in government, and they're mostly entry level as well. GRC is governance, risk, and compliance for any of you viewers playing at home. There's also a lot of like SOC roles, so like SOC analyst, yeah, pretty much SOC analyst. That's pretty much a major job. There is also risk assessors, which I know falls under GRC, but it's more of a technical job. So they'll be looking at essentially running Nessus very often on a network to see what vulnerabilities there are in the development system, so that when they push them out to prod, they're less hackable, basically. Nedsec says, like failing. I'm not sure what that means, but okay. Black Scorpion Fitness says, I have an IT background and have been working vulnerability management, which I like. That's good. How do I subcontract for other companies? I want to do my own hustle instead of sitting in an office building. I'm going to give you a reality check. Subcontracting is still going to office buildings. I go out on site every day, all day, to different places that have subcontracted my services. Sometimes I work from home, but it's pretty rare. Most places prefer, where I am anyway, to see someone in person, despite COVID regulations, which there isn't really any here. Apart from that, you can't really leave the country. So, yeah. How to, I guess, what's the question? How to start your own subcontracting? First, you need a business name. Second, you need insurance. And third, you need to have good contacts and be able to sell yourself, because you're going to be your own salesman approaching different companies to subcontract to. Usually the contracts go for 3 months to 6 months. That's the most common amount of time. You can get like 12-month contracts, but they usually prefer someone who's going to transition into a full-time role for those contracts. So maybe that's not really for you. Rio says, Black Scorpion, where are you based? Yeah, I'd like to know. Rio is a great person to talk to. If maybe I'll bring Rio in. Rio, do you want to... I know you've got a live stream scheduled for another day. When is it, actually? Is it the next one? No, it's in a few weeks' time. It's in a few weeks. Yeah, it's in about a month, actually. So... yeah, that's all right. We'll keep that for them. But Rio is coming on this live stream to talk about all the things IT that he's lined up to do and has been doing. So that'll be a great chat if anyone's keen to have a chat with Rio. Definitely join us for that live stream. Black Scorpion Fitness says he's in Omaha, which is in apparently Nebraska in the USA. Yeah, I mean, starting a business anywhere involves a few different things. One, it involves money, time, and a lot of effort. So it sounds all bougie and great to say like, oh, you're a business owner and you've got a business. But the trickiest thing is, how do people know that you exist? So sure, you can have your own like social, I guess, aspect to try and build the SEO of your website or services or whatever it is, which is great, and that will definitely help. But to be honest, a lot of it is going to like networking meetings, like BNI groups. I don't know if you guys have that in the US. I can't remember if that's a US thing or not, but BNI things here is basically where you have a breakfast or a lunch or a dinner or whatever it is with a group of other business owners, and you talk with them about their business needs and what they do and what you do, and then it's like a referral based system where you try and refer business to them and they try and refer business to you. They work pretty well. I've had a bit of success with BNI groups and general networking meetings like that, but I mean they're not cheap, to be completely honest, for someone who's just starting out, and they are time consuming, and you often don't see a return for quite a while, at least a few months time. Because you have to build a relationship with people, and you have to actively, like, you have a meeting with them at the breakfast meeting or whenever it is, and then you just have to have another meeting with them to talk about how you could help them and how they can help you and all that stuff, and then they have to talk to their clients to see if maybe they could use your service. So it's pretty tricky, but it can be done. Rymax says, can you do a side hustle if employed full-time in a cybersecurity role? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I work full-time all day, every day. And after work and sometimes during work, I guess, I work on my own things. I have a few different things going. So there's the YouTube channel, which I do on Sunday nights now. Sometimes I throw up a video during the week to... just for something that I think is going to be an interesting topic. And that takes time. So there's that. Then there's also Cybersec Guidance, which is the one-on-one coaching business that I have, where I talk with you one-on-one to give you a guide on how to get started in cybersecurity. I check in with you to make sure you're achieving those goals. And it's a pretty good side hustle, I think. And then there's the Safer Internet Project, which is aimed to give people a real life, day in the life version of what it's like to work in a pen testing organization. We do have a lot of other learning modules to give you the base knowledge that you need to sort of get started, but it's a pretty cool business as well, and a very cool service, I think, for those who are interested in learning how to pen test or various different blue team techniques, which will give you that sort of, I guess, industry knowledge and experience that employers look for. And that's sort of exactly what we're aiming for there. On top of that, there's another one which is kind of dead now, called AirDesker. That was a startup built around co-working spaces. I have another one called dccybersec, which is my main subcontracting business entity. But we also do managed services, pen test, software development through there as well. And I just started another one, another thing that's totally different, called Perfect Monday Clothing. If you want to check it out, it's perfectmondayclothing.com. The site doesn't really exist yet. There's just a landing page that it hasn't been released yet because it hasn't been released yet. But yeah, those are all my side hustles as well as my full day-to-day life of work. So to answer your question, yes, it's possible to have side hustles while working in cybersecurity. Let me see. Someone just messaged me on Twitter. It's not Zach, unfortunately. So I think we've lost Zach for this one because we're already half an hour in. Rio said, go and speak to an accountant about the ideal structure for you. I'm in Australia, so we have different tax laws. Off the cuff, I'd look at an LSE, but go and get some professional advice. Absolutely. Bobby Pinar says, looks like BNI is based in the US, so check him out. Yep. Rio also says, for legal info, check out Bradley Gross. He has a tech law podcast and some really good info that could apply to you. BNI is worldwide. I'm in a chapter in my city. We've got 5 here. There's 5 chapters up there. That's crazy. There was a lot in Brisbane, and I mean they start them in like literally every suburb. So I was in 2 in Brisbane, 1 in the valley and 1 in the city. And yeah, I mean they were at different times, so it was achievable. And some people did do that. They went to a few at the same time. I think the cost was like $1,500 a year or something. Plus you have to pay for the food as well. So it adds up, but I mean, the return that I get, I still get business from people that I met in those meetings years later. So, I mean, they definitely worked out for me. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically how I got started. And answering some of the questions here, it's interesting to see where you guys are at in your journeys in cybersecurity or studying IT or whatever it is. I'm going to keep the stream going for a little while. I was hoping to talk with Zach today, but that's okay. Just get some questions going in chat. We can chill. We can have a nice chill vibe stream, which is kind of good for me because I've been sort of partying all week and weekend because it was my birthday, and yeah. Oh, side note, for anyone who's interested, I have another YouTube channel. Let me see if I can find a link for you. It's more of I don't know if this interests any of you. I'm just throwing it out there, but basically what it is a YouTube channel which is focused less about cybersecurity and all the things I talk about on here, and more about just like my life, essentially. So things I do in my day-to-day life, the silly stuff that I get up to, and how I think that is interesting. I'll chuck it in the chat here of YouTube. But yeah, basically reviewing different beers, talking about soju, which I enjoy, but haven't had for a very long time now. Yeah, like driving around, random business stuff, basically everything other than cybersecurity. So if that interests you, go and check it out. The channel's called After Dark, and it's just silly. It's meant to be silly, and that's kind of how I like it. Bear with me one second. I just got this today. It was a freebie, and I mean it's kind of cute, but yeah, there's no nicotine. I'm trying to give up the nicotine, so. You know what I should do? Seeing as I'm not interviewing anyone, I should crank the tunes up a bit. What do you reckon? Give me like some thumbs up in the chat, or a yes to pump the music a bit louder. Or if you just want to hear my voice, I mean, let me know. Darth Kelgaron, cool name, man. Happy belated birthday. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Rymac, in with the questions again. It's great to see you here every week with fresh questions. I like this. He says, what would your advice be for someone trying to get into defense part of cybersecurity? There's actually like really good programs that have been built to bring people into the cybersecurity space and basically upskill them before they get started. So it's like essentially like a traineeship for defense. So there is those, which are pretty cool. But honestly, what they mostly look for is experience, like everyone else. So yeah, you need to look for either an organization that's willing to sponsor you. You need to be a citizen usually, or at least a permanent resident to be able to get clearance, different clearance levels of any country that you're willing to work in. Like for example, if someone was from, is an Indian national and they want to work in Australian government as cybersecurity, it's never going to happen because they're not a citizen in Australia. So there's things like that to think about. But yeah, I would just have a look at different government organizations around the world, or the one that you're like the country you're living in, and have a look at what sort of systems they have in place to get you in there. They usually do like application rounds for various different levels and jobs, and yeah, they're pretty cool, I think. Bobby Pin has requested the music to be cranked, so that's what I'm going to do. I'll turn it up to here. I think that's loud enough. Yeah. Shout out to Epidemic Sound for these beautiful royalty-free songs. Yeah, they're pretty cool. I mean, I think it's like 15 US a month or something. I get all these mad beats. Let's have a look. What's featured? What's the featured track? Now trending. Ooh, creator's pick. That sounds cool. Maybe creator's pick? Okay. These playlists are curated by a talented community of storytellers. Midnight Vibes are sold. Let's do this one. This is Midnight Vibes by Andrew Huang. Andrew Huang is a Toronto-based musician and YouTube creator best known for his unorthodox approaches to music. Alongside his discography of over 30 original albums, wow, spanning a variety of genres, he regularly uploads creative music content on his YouTube channel, which now has over 2 million subscribers. Congratulations, dude. Andrew created the iOS music making app Flip Sampler, cool, and has also taught music theory and production to thousands of students through his online course, Completed Music Production. He has been nominated for an iHeartRadio Music Award, received the Buffer Festival Award for Excellence in Production, and was recently voted the top music tech personality in the world by Music Radar. This is his playlist. This is kind of cool. Yeah, I think pretty much everyone's going to bail on this stream now. Sarcastic One, sup? Welcome. Bobby Pin, bye. Venki, is it required to log in as a user while doing bug bounty? It's not required, but yeah, I mean, you're better to explore all angles. Rio says cyber defense is becoming more and more relevant among MSPs and internal IT teams due to a drive from insurance underwriters who are paying out on cyber claims, normally ransomware. Yeah, and insurance is tightening up who they're actually insuring now. Just because the risk is so high that it's like, it's nuts. Gerald Auger, Simply Cyber. Welcome, dude. Good to have you here. Grim Jim, did you start in a help desk role? Do entry-level roles generally train you for the position? I started in a, yeah, I guess. I mean, my first IT job was me driving around to mostly old people's houses to fix their computers and try and sell them antivirus. So, yeah, I mean, I've done all the hard yards before getting to where I am now. Gerald Auger says, our policy went up 4 times on renewal. Yeah, exactly. So when I was with starting the Safer Internet project with Gareth, insurance took months to get. We ended up having to go outside of Australia to a insurance company based in the UK because they were the only ones who would actually insure us. And yeah, I mean, that was a fun experience. Julio says, any advice for people who feel like they've got a job in offensive security too fast and still feel like they lack some of the fundamentals and defensive skills? Any resources you would recommend? Absolutely. Mods, if you could please put in the link to the Safer Internet project. The Safer Internet project is designed to give you the skills to work as a pen tester. So if that kind of interests you, then it's a great website to get involved in. So yeah, I'd highly recommend it. Well, obviously I'm biased because I kind of started it with Gareth, but yeah. Do I have a war story that we haven't heard? I have too many war stories, but none of them. I don't want to burn those bridges yet. The last one I made was I named it the honey pot, and yeah, it was a interesting story where basically I got called really early in the morning because a client was being hacked, and so I went out there and threw in a DNS sink and just a pie hole, and then a honey pot off the back of that, and eventually just dropped all of their traffic. Luckily it was super early in the morning, so yeah, pretty fun one, really. Patrick Tung says, anyone is preparing for CISA here? Interesting. Anyone here? Let me know. Patrick Tung, anyone preparing for CISA here? Do you mean CYSA plus? No, I think he means the CISA. You don't need to ask the same question twice. We will, people will get around to it. The chat's not that lively that you need to copy paste. Gerald Auger says, explicit exclusionary criteria is around business email compromise. Yeah, basically. Gerald has a CISA if it matters. Cool. Tell us about it. Tell me. Gerald, are you in my Discord server? If you are, flick me a DM and I'll drop you into the live stream. You're gonna have to put your camera on though, if that's okay. Let me know. Drop me a DM. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Barry, this guy is talking about the CISA, not the CYSA. But the CYSA Plus is a pretty good cert to have. I know a guy who recently did it. Hey, Gerald's coming into the chat. Hell yeah. That's good. Yeah, on Is It Worth It? This is a story on that it is worth it. So he used to be a policeman. He had a workplace incident that resulted in an injury. And he got a job as a... he did his CYSA Plus as well as, I think, the Sec Plus. And landed himself a job straight away. I don't think it was directly cybersecurity related, but it had pieces in it that was related to cybersecurity. And I mean, that's a good way to get in. That's a foot in the door into the job that he was after. So yeah, I can't speak highly enough of the CYSA Plus. We got a couple of questions. Medad, I was preparing for Linux Plus. Give me your advice. Patrick Tung, just curious if it's good to start working on the Q&A manual at the beginning or to learn CISA. I don't know. We'll have a chat with Gerald once he jumps in. I'm sure he's going to flick me a DM in any second. Gerald coming in here clutch, by the way, to save this stream. It is unfortunate that Zach seems to be away. I hope he's okay. But yeah, Gerald's going to come in and have a chat, which is going to be fun. Which means I'll have to turn down the music because I won't be able to hear anything. I'll be completely deaf. So I'll just tone that down slightly. There we go. That's good. That's the good stuff. Barry Allen, CTF for beginners. I literally made a video about that. It's called CTFs, the best CTFs for beginners. Go and check it out. If you go to my videos and sort by most popular. I think it's in like the top 10. So yeah, go and check it out. Where are we? Where was I at with the questions? I want preparing for Linux Plus. Give me your advice. Follow the course content. Patrick, just curious, a good start working on the Q&A manual at the beginning to learn CISA. I'm waiting for Gerald to get his computer going. He'll be a second, but he's coming in here clutch. He's saving it. He's the savior. He's basically Jesus at this point. Yeah. Let's just vibe to the music temporarily, just while we're waiting. I'm gonna mute myself and play this music a bit louder. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, like, are my neighbors looking through? I've got like this big window, as you can sort of see next to me here. I wonder, like, are they just looking in, just going like, look at this absolute tool. It's just like talking, because all my screen is me and the chat. That's it. So I can like see what's going on. So yeah, it looks pretty random. If someone was looking in, they'd just be like, this guy's such a knob. He's just like talking to himself. No one else on the video, just me. Oh, what a time to be alive. I mean, these songs are pretty good. I think this Andrew Huang dude has nailed this playlist. This is good. By the way, have you guys noticed an improvement in the audio quality with this microphone mounted on a boom arm? Is it better? Is it worse? Let me know. I love some feedback. So, oh, here we go. Gerald is in the chat. Yo. I'm gonna send him a DM. It is good. Okay, fantastic. Let's turn the music back down and get ready. All right, Gerald, I'm gonna give you a call, buddy. Turn on camera. All right, bear with me, guys. I gotta change my scene here. Oh, damn, it's a good stream setup. Look at this guy go. Gerald, what's up? Welcome. Oh, I can't hear you. What's going on? Oh, it's not me. Okay, good. Sup, Dale? How's it going, dude? Good to see you in the chat. I can't believe you're the single one person watching on Facebook. It's funny as. Tell me you're a boomer without telling me you're a boomer.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you now, but it's super soft.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
See if I can turn you up.
No, it's definitely me. I have like audio pre-processing.
Oh, okay. It might be the music as well. It's like banging in my ears.
No, that probably sounds good right there, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's perfect.
Yeah.
What's up, dude? Thanks for coming in here.
Yeah, I saw you. I was getting some coffee this morning. I was like, oh, DC's on with Zach. And then it looks like something came up. So, yeah, thanks for inviting me. I'm glad I could join.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for coming in clutch here with the save. It's good. Let's talk about... I have to change the thumbnail now. Well, let's talk about the CISA because there's a couple of questions in here from... Who was the first one? Where's it going?
Was it Grim Jim or...
No, it was Patrick Tung. He said, is anyone preparing for the CISA? So I'm curious, what was your preparation, I guess, for the CISA, and sort of how'd you get to doing that cert?
Yeah, so I mean, just as a preface, that cert is for auditors essentially. So it's much more aligned if you're interested in pursuing the GRC track. Which I don't
Yep.
know if it's like this in Australia, man, but like in the United States, GRC is like booming right now. Like people are like super
Yeah,
geeked
dude.
up about getting into GRC.
Yeah, it's going off
So
its tits over here as well.
yeah, so I approach certs pretty much all the same way. So I'll get whatever the official book is, because all those organizations, in this case ISACA, they have their own book, and it's hands down going to be the one that's like going to give you the best chance of getting the right, getting enough points, because they'll have questions directly from the exam in their own book and stuff. So I'll typically get that, and then I don't know about UDC, but like I'll run through a practice test before I study a single iota, just to see, like, baseline myself, and then figure out if there's certain domains, because a lot of these certs are like domain specific, right? There'll be like 5 different areas you got to know, and
Yeah.
if one area I suck at, I'll focus more on studying there, and one area I'm good at, I'll spend less time there. That way, I'm going to spend the same amount of time studying as someone else, but I'll weight it so I'm addressing my weaknesses versus just treating everything with the same level of priority.
Yeah, fair enough. So that makes sense as far as a pathway to successfully completing a certification.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you recommend any other GRC certifications out there? Because there's a few sort of creeping up now. It's not just the CISA, although that's probably, I reckon, the big hitter of GRC.
Yeah, I'd agree. ISACA's kind of got their talons in that one, if you will, because I don't have C risk, and that one's only a few years old, right? Like that's probably like only 7
Yeah.
or 8 years old. But I've heard C risk is
Oh,
like,
if that. Is it even that
yeah.
old?
Well, I remember when I was like, I'm just basing it on my career. Like I remember when I was at Booz Allen, they had like beta testers. Like you could be they want to launch with people already having the cert, and
Yeah, true.
there were people I was working with who were asked to take it. So, and that was 7 years ago. Yeah, because
Oh,
I worked
shit.
at a hospital for like 6 years after that.
Damn. Okay. What were you doing in the hospital? Was it GRC stuff as well, or?
I got hired in as a risk analyst, and then I have a computer science bachelor's and master's, so I have a technical,
Nice.
background. So I ultimately was a cyber architect, which just basically means I'm an in-house expert consultant. So like no matter what they do, like we bought a couple new hospitals, and they're gonna merge the networks and
Yep.
deduplicate applications, disentangle and stuff like that. I was on like a team. So there was like an infrastructure guy and a networking guy and then a cyber
Yep.
guy, so that was kind of what I did there.
That makes sense. So then you were basically designing the protection and I guess a safe connection between all of those different hospitals together. And because that's essentially what an architect is doing, is making sure that that design is as bulletproof as possible, really. In the simplest term, I guess, of describing what the job is. Yeah. So yeah, that would have been pretty interesting actually with hospitals, because they have some pretty cool infrastructure actually,
Well,
and some old old stuff.
yeah.
Lots of IoT.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is interesting for sure. Well, and especially because it was a medical university, so there's you got the healthcare and the higher ed kind of situation. So you get a lot of people who want to collaborate. You get a lot of international visiting professors. So a lot of the network traffic it looks, to normal people, it would look very suspicious, very weird. In reality, it wasn't. So it really interesting. And in the United States, we have this thing called HIPAA, which is like a healthcare privacy thing. So that has a whole other level of control to think about, and detection and reporting and stuff like that. So you work a lot with compliance and legal, but
That's kind of cool. Have you ever had any issues with like getting the point across to, I guess, different stakeholders on certain risks or things? Like, I guess what I'm digging for here is like a horror story where you said, maybe you guys should do this. And then they've said, oh, nah, maybe not, no, we can't afford it, or that's not, the budget doesn't cover this, or something like that. Because I know I have, a lot of times with certain things, and getting those points across to a GRC team or GRC lead, and then them, pushing that across with a technical background onto what should be done, and then it just sort of being pushed away at the end, just going, no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, we've had some of that, like larger stake kind of projects, right, where it's a significant thing. So I'll give you two. One is like a small one. I went to DEF CON like in, I don't know, 14 or 15, and there's two medical doctors out of San Diego who also are like, cybersecurity practitioners, for lack of a better term. I mean, they practice medicine, but they're also in the community, and they did a demonstration on this solution they made on how they could do a man in the middle, essentially from like a blood gas analyzer to the patient medical record, and manipulate the values to make it look like a different diagnosis, right? So like any physician looking at the numbers in the patient record would say this person's clearly diabetic and they're going into a diabetic shock. We need to administer insulin immediately. But if you look at the person, that they're actually just suffering a heart attack or something like that, and the traffic on a hospital network is unencrypted. It's called HL7, and it's a protocol from like the 70s. It's like Telnet, right? Almost. So they demonstrated this, and I brought it back, and I said, hey, listen, these are medical doctors. This is a real thing. We should look at maybe encrypting the HL7 traffic, at least in these areas over here. And the half the group was with me, right? Like, we shouldn't be running unencrypted protocol everywhere. And then a nursing officer, right? So there's like the head nurse was like, there's no way, no, like, nerd, like no one's gonna believe you, nerd, like no one's gonna do that. And then the CIO said the right things, like, oh, we'll fund an initiative to look into this, and then like nothing ever came of it. So
damn.
But
oh well.
But I do have one real horror story to share with you, if I may, DC.
Of course,
it's not directly
please do.
related to what you. So when you think about working in healthcare, the patient safety is like a legit concern, right? Like when we talk about risk, like, oh, reputational damage or you lose some money or whatever, like that sucks, but patient safety is like legit. And we had a situation once where there was an active incident, threat actor in the environment of a remote hospital, right? So we've merged all these hospitals, and there's one in this remote hospital, and we're afraid that it's going to traverse into the main network, right? So it's like a satellite, and there's an obvious path to how to get in. And so we make the decision to cut off the network, right? So like basically cut that satellite off. And what we didn't know at the time, like this is like a fast moving thing. What we didn't know at the time is that remote hospital actually provides, like you can go there if you have stroke symptoms, and with strokes, time is like so critical. Like the faster you can diagnose a stroke, the more likely the person is to be okay. And that remote hospital was the place in this rural area where you would go if you had stroke, but they didn't have a neurologist on staff. They had basically like telemedicine's like popular now, but at the time telemedicine was like very boutique, and you'd basically do like a FaceTime call with a neurologist, and they would do the diagnosis over the FaceTime call. So we cut the network off, which means now that telemedicine solution is down. Like they don't have the internet anymore. And like 3 minutes after we cut it off, someone walked into the front door of the emergency room with showing signs of stroke. So fortunately, we had like a war room call going or whatever, like an open line bridge. Yeah. And the person from the remote site was like, was there to say like, hey, we've got this person presenting. We need to get the network back up. So we turned it back on, obviously, because at that point, the patient safety was greater than whatever this threat actor could possibly do in our mind, right? So that's the reality of working in a healthcare setting. It's not just physicians talking nerd to you,
Yeah. Gee. Okay. That is a hectic war story. That would have been. Yeah. That would have been a little bit stressful, I think. For anyone who's joined, this is Gerald. He's from Simply Cyber. I've put a link to simplycyber.io in the chat for anyone who's interested. I will change the thumbnails and stuff later for this video. But yeah, massive shout out to for Gerald to come in here and clutch this and help me with that. If you guys have any questions about GRC, please drop them in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them. Seeing as Gerald is a GRC person, I'm not sure your exact title at the moment, but GRC something.
Right now I'm basically an information security officer at a mid-sized manufacturing company. So I built my own program, and now I run it. You know.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's sick.
It's fun. It's why I took the job. They had nothing, and they're like, "Hey, you want to come in and build something?" And like, I don't know about you and your career, DC. I know some of it, but that's like that's a really great challenge for someone who's been in the industry for a while to like test your mettle and build your own program.
It's also a really great opportunity to build something different the way you want it to be, though, which is yeah. I mean, it would have been definitely challenging for sure, but I mean, that would have been cool. Because then you can sort of, you can go so many places with doing stuff like that. That's really fun. What was I gonna? Oh yeah, for anyone who's sort of looking to get started in, I guess, GRC specifically, we'll stay on the GRC topic. What would be your, I guess, recommendations for getting started in GRC for those people who are out there and want to join the GRC boom, which is absolutely happening in the US and the UK and Australia. I'm not too sure about other places, but I know in Australia it's become a massive thing in the last, like, I don't know, 1 year, 6 to 12 months. It's just exploded, and from what I've seen, it's been pretty much the same in the US, and the UK is a little bit less, but still booming. How would you recommend for people to get started in GRC?
Yeah, so for the, if you're watching this and it's like, how do I do this? So GRC is governance, risk, and compliance. And the risk and the compliance is really where you would be practicing GRC. The G is more about like the tone at the top and like what the cultural values are of the organization, stuff like that. So you don't really do governance per se, except for maybe policy and procedure documentation. But I would say, for me, I think the best way to get in is through audit, because all organizations need audit, right? Like, especially if you're like bound by some regulatory framework like HIPAA or PCI, if you take credit cards and stuff like that. Yeah, one
of the ISO ones.
Yeah, exactly. ISO or SOC 2 and stuff like that. So there's all these standards. CMMC is blowing up in the United States a little bit. So there's all these standards, and an organization needs to comply with them. And how do they comply with them? And then B, how do they demonstrate compliance with them? And they do it through audit. And audit is like tough, grindy, as far as in the trenches go for GRC work. That's where the meat grinder is doing audit work, because it's repetitive and it's dense. And that's where they throw a lot of junior analysts, frankly, is because it's grunt work. And then once you do that for a while, you can then start leading audit and then have people under you do the grunt work, and then you're kind of facilitating and stuff like that. And then once you've done audit for a while, you begin to see, because all these frameworks, and this, DC, all these frameworks have the same thing. Like, there's some level of auditing associated here. There's some sort of access control. There's some sort of business continuity. Like, they call it different things in ISO and NIST.
The framework of the framework is all pretty much the same thing, though. Really, it really is.
Yeah. So once you do those for a while, you begin to see kind of the buckets or the categories and start to understand, like, well, if this isn't here, is that actually a big deal? Yes or no? And that's when you begin to understand how to assess risk. And then I feel like you migrate from compliance into the risk thing, because now you're informed on what risk actually is and how you would assess it, calculate it, and communicate it. Because just because you don't have encrypted hard drives, for example, is that a big deal? Like, the compliance standard says you're required to encrypt hard drives, but like, an encrypted hard drive on a laptop is way different than an encrypted hard drive on a server in a data center, right? Like, they're two wildly different things. And if it costs, it's all about money too, right? If it costs X amount of dollars to encrypt everything, no one's going to buy into that. So I guess to take it back, I would suggest people go through audit. I saw Kimberly in chat here. Kimberly is a friend of the Simply Cyber community, member of the Simply Cyber community. I see you're asking about the GRC course. I actually get this question quite a bit and noticed that there is a gap in, there's tons of like try hack me, hack the box, range force, cyber defenders. There's tons of things for blue and red people to get skill development. And there's literally nothing that I'm aware of for GRC. So I'm actually working on
I did create one. I have created one. Yeah. So it's very basic, but it's basically risk and compliance for 365 on the Safer Internet Project website. Oh. So it's basically how to analyze a risk in 365 and to create compliance policies based on the risks that have come through. So that was really the only one that I felt confident in writing up a module on, having a lot of sort of, I guess, exposure to 365 and its security and compliance stuff. But I mean, that's a drop in the ocean of risk and compliance. That's just one very small piece in a very vast ocean. So yeah, I'd love to see more out there, but there's really not much out that I've seen anyway.
The course is half done. It's one of those things where I come into my studio, if you want to call this my studio, my phone booth here, and I'm like, I'm going to do this, and then something distracts me, or I'm like, oh, like last 2 weeks ago, DC, I was like, I'm going to work on it, and then I came up and I saw like a blog post about a honeypot, and I was like, I'm going to do a honeypot instead.
Cool.
And I just like went
yeah. Yeah, the attraction is real. I relate to that so much. I get so easily distracted, but yeah, especially like there's a new show pops up on Netflix or something. I'm like, well, there goes my week. I'm just done. Yeah. So there was a question here from Rymac. He said, what are the requirements to get into GRC if a person isn't a citizen of the country?
Well, I mean, it depends what you're going to be doing, right? Like if you're a citizen of, let's say, India, and you're going to try to work on a United States project, I mean, maybe you could work remotely and get a job with like one of the big firms like Booz Allen or Deloitte, and it's not a big deal.
PwC, etc.
Yeah. So I always tell people, just as a quick aside, you said how to get into GRC. I always tell people, look at professional services like PwC, Deloitte, Accenture, Capgemini, KPMG, Booz Allen, because they literally win work that they charge $200 an hour for, and they'll turn around and they'll hire someone for $100, and they are so financially incentivized to put a body in that position because it's money. It's just real money, and they won't lose any money because literally you're getting a portion of whatever they've won, so they're guaranteed some delta. So there's tons of work there. So back to the original question, I would say look for those opportunities. They do happen, but the thing is, if it's like a Department of Defense, U.S. Navy contract, like there's going to be constraints.
You have to be a citizen to get the clearance to be able to do that job. So I guess it's sort of like just focus on the private industry rather than like the public sector, the government agencies, because a lot of the private companies are doing stuff for the government anyway, and they have the clearance or the agreement or whatever it is to be able to do that work, but they'll just push it onto someone else because it's literally just money. It's all about money and them making money and doing it that way, as long as the job's done properly as well, of course.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. But the nice thing with those professional service companies too is that they are two things. One, they'll train their people, right? They've got really rigid programs on how to train your staff up. And then two, they always build it as teams. So like you're not a one person show walking in and hoping that you understand. Like they'll have a team lead and then three, like I said earlier, a lead and then three junior analysts that are getting direction from the lead on how to execute. And those junior analysts typically don't talk directly to the client either, so you don't have to worry about that. It's very, very well developed on how you develop the talent once you get hired. Yeah,
I agree. Those large companies, and they do hire remotely as well. Just have a look on like, I don't know, any of the employment website like Indeed or Seek. LinkedIn is also really great for those jobs. They advertise them everywhere. So yeah, just have a look, and there's plenty of stuff out there. What's I guess a typical day in the life of a GRC officer sort of like?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Like from, yeah, go, I know it's different all the time, but as a different, like a typical day, like you walk into work and you sit down and you have a set of tasks to do. What would those tasks, I guess, look like?
Yeah, so
Typically.
I hear you. So it kind of breaks into buckets. So the way that I run my program is at least every other Monday, but typically every Monday, I actually develop, I have a very novel approach to security awareness training. So I don't adhere to the once a year compliance checkbox thing. I literally develop, because I have, YouTube stuff, I develop like a 30-second high punch video that has like, it's something relevant to the person. I'm a huge advocate of, if you train the people to protect themselves personally, they'll naturally bring that behavior into the workplace. If you try to teach them to put multi-factor authentication on because we don't want corporate secrets to go out, maybe, but they don't care. If I tell them to put multi-factor on their bank account so they don't get robbed, they're going to do it because it means something to them. And then and then when I say put MFA on your also this, they're like already their behavior is already adjusted.
It's like an elevator pitch for cybersecurity awareness training.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I'll do that, right? Like usually it's like whatever the news is, right? So for example, QR codes are starting to spike up with like malicious links. So I made a video, like, hey, I know you see the QR code at the restaurant and that's how they give you the menu, but be aware that this could happen too. So just, etc. So I'll make an awareness video. I do, well, this is going to be a shameless plug, DC, but like...
Go for it. You're more than welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. For years, I have... I spend the first half hour of my day with a cup of coffee, and I do like threat intel, right? Like, threat intel. I'll read a blog post, I'll read the current news, whatever. And CISOseries.com actually does a phenomenal, like 8-minute podcast. It's kind of like Sans Internet Stormcast, except it's designed for a business side, not the, Sans Internet Stormcast is much more engineer kind of focused. This one is much more business focused. So I'll listen to that for half an hour. And starting in December, a couple months ago, I actually started going live. So like literally every morning at 8 a.m. Eastern, I go live and I do my morning threat briefing with Simply Cyber community. And there's probably 100 people who join me every morning. And I'll go through we'll go through the first story and then I'll give my editorial perspective and thoughts on it, and this is a great story for me to educate my user community. You guys might want to do it too, or this is interesting but not a big deal.
That's awesome.
So I do threat intel, and then I'll do the awareness video. I usually try to do at least one policy a month because it is a new program, so I'm still building out those policies. Not as important, but it is foundational, so you have to do it. I have a small team too, so I have to do SecOps work, which is actually kind of fun. So I'll go through the phishing logs, make sure that 365 is actually pretty dope. I don't know if you've been working with Exchange Online Protection or Office 365 infrastructure.
For too long. Yeah, years and years. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you've probably seen them mature then over time because their product suite is actually quite legit. It's
cool.
solid.
Yeah. Once you get the right licensing, if you're running on Business Basic or Business Premium, Business Premium's a little bit better and you get some insight into what's going on, but Business Basic is it's basic. I mean, it's in the name. But once you get those P1, P2 licenses or any of the E licenses upwards, you can, or Defender for 365 over the top, you get all of the good stuff there where it starts actually, if someone was to send a phishing campaign, and there's a story from last week at the Safer Internet Project, we were doing a pen test on an actual business, and a part of that pen test that we were doing was there was a phishing campaign with social engineering off the back of that, which was kind of fun. And we had some snags though with the phishing campaign getting hit by this client's 365 tenancy, and it was essentially stripping out the link and throwing the email in junk or just completely blocking it, depending on how we sent it. So we had to kind of simplify it a lot to be able to get through and fix our DMARC and DKIM stuff to be able to actually even get in there, because it just wasn't a validated enough domain to be able to even get into their inbox. So it's kind of cool to see that Microsoft has that functionality, and I haven't seen the back end of that person's Exchange online presence yet, or any of the protections they have. But after doing that phishing campaign, I now know exactly what protections they have. But so it just, yeah, for a basic phishing campaign, it just doesn't even get through in most cases. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. I mean, that's a major benefit to stop any threat actors out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah, and
Bobby?
they have Oh yeah, we got questions coming in.
No, I just want to get Bobby to put in the Sans IC link, if you could, please.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that'd be super handy. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
listening to that. I used to listen to that more when I was more hands-on technical stuff. But yeah, the CISO series one is it's wide. It's very broad in the topics it covers. So
Nice. Tell us a little bit more about Simply Cyber, because this sounds super interesting. I think a lot of people who watch this could also be interested in it as well. So please do tell us a bit more about this, the Monday to Friday thing that goes on, and you know, what's sort of covered in each of those sessions in a little bit more detail, if you don't mind.
no, I'll be happy to. In fact, I wish I had brought up my eCam before I got into this Discord here, because I can actually do overlays and stuff like that with links and stuff. But
We can start this again if you want. We can turn this off and get it going if you really like.
No, it's not that.
No? Okay.
So, I mean, if people want to go to simplycyber.io/FTF, that'll bring you to, I call that morning briefing, first things first. So they can go and check that out. Also, if you want to join the Discord community, it's simplycyber.io/Discord. But so Simply Cyber is started as a YouTube channel to help people make and take a cybersecurity career further faster. So I've been working in the industry for about 17 years, and you know, you get asked, it probably happens to you too quite a bit, DC, like you get asked the same questions a lot. So for me, I was like, well, I'll make videos that answer these questions. That way I can kind of mentor at scale. And that's where it started. And I would do a produced video every Monday at noon. And then I've been doing it for 2 years now. And that would be much more of like what is malware analysis, right? Like that's a video, or let's make a pie hole. Like sometimes I'll do technical videos. And then slowly I started doing like live interviews with guests, and now that's permanent. So Thursdays at 4:30 Eastern, we have a guest. Last week we had Erica McDuffie, who's a director at one of these big firms in GRC, and she came in to talk all about how to break into GRC, and you know, in 2022 and stuff like that. And sometimes, you know, SOC analysts, SecOps work, that's really, really hard work. And a lot of people don't understand the mental health burn on that. So I had guests come in and talk really just about mental health in a SOC. You know what I mean? So it's very focused. And now I still do those like Monday and Thursday. And now I do this morning briefing at 8 a.m. every day. Although I also teach at university. So my Tuesdays and Thursdays at the moment are at 10 a.m. Because I teach at 8 a.m. But it's been good. And like I said, we get like probably 100 people in there. The Simply Cyber community, the Discord server has a couple thousand in it, and the YouTube's got like 30,000 subs kind of. So it's a nice, healthy community. And the best part is, you can see Kimberly in there too. The best part is like, it really is people helping people. It's evolved way past me. Like I'm just part of Simply Cyber now. It's not my thing anymore. It's much more greater than just me.
That's a lot like my Discord server as well. Whereas I started the Discord server, and I mean I built the channels, but I mean it's so much more than that now. There's like a full life section where people talk about gardening and, you know, cars and bikes and their music recommendations. It's like a real community now it's not even just all about cybersecurity. It's about people who just want to chat and, you know, get to know each other and build relationships, which is, I mean, that's really what a community is about. But with a focus on cybersecurity as well. But so those sessions are at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I assume? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's really been good too. Like I've noticed too, like I guess in my mind I was thinking it would just be mostly East Coast people, because, you know, California people, it's like 5 a.m. And what's surprising is people, like, everybody kind of chimes in where they're from. I go live, but I wait like 5 minutes before I kind of start, and people are logging in from India and Australia and Nigeria and Canada, and people get up on the West Coast for the show. You know what I mean? So it really is surprising.
That's awesome, dude.
And
How long do they go for?
They're typically about 30 minutes. They're almost always 30 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Well, that's actually a good like morning digest for people to, get into and say, I love that idea. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to pop in. Yeah, I will. Yeah. Well, I might. I think 8 a.m. your time is around 11 p.m. my time.
Yeah.
Because it's like almost.
17?
Yeah. It's 12:17 now. Yeah. That's cool though. I love that idea. That's super fun, and it really does get out to everyone who needs to know that information. And do they get like an opportunity to ask questions and stuff like that as well, or?
Yeah. So the morning briefings, they do ask questions, and I do answer some of them, but it's way less kind of AMA stuff. Like the Thursday ones, I'll do a lot of engagement and bring questions onto the stage. It's heavier. With the morning briefings, it's much more like there's so many people talking and I'm so focused on like what my reflection is of that particular story at that time that I don't really engage too much, and the chat's just flying. So I have mods that help me, but they mod more with like booting people who are toxic or stuff like that.
Standard, yeah.
But the nice thing is the chat actually has like a healthy conversation. So like say it's like this Chinese app for the Olympics. I don't know if you heard about this thing, but there's like app that they're requiring. Yeah. So there was a story about that, and I start talking, and then someone asks a question like, is this iPhone or Android only or whatever? And then like, chat starts having a discussion, and they kind of answer the questions for me, which is perfectly fine, because I need to focus. Like, not only am I doing it as a community service, but like I literally need to do this for my job. Like I'm doing it so I know what's going on in the news,
Yeah, that's cool. I usually just I have like a news feed on my server that I flick through. And it's basically just like Zapier zapping in news stories from different websites. So you do get a bit of crossover with the amount of news that goes into that feed. But I mean, I usually just flick through and go, oh, yep, big article. Yeah, okay, cool. This is what's going on. So yeah, that's pretty cool. You're actually like going through it and reading it out and letting everyone know the actual good stuff to focus on in the noise of. I mean, how many news stories are there every day about stuff goes never ending really. So that's awesome. I love that idea. That's cool as.
Yeah, thanks. And I also have found too that not only is it for practitioners, but I have to assume it's the same in Australia, but like when you go in for a job interview, especially if you're trying to break into the industry, like you will be asked, how do you stay current on cyber? Like it's going to be asked. And I tell people every day I go live, I'm like, this is an answer. This is a completely qualified answer to that question. And you're gonna
absolutely.
You're gonna impress them. So
yeah, those sort of things actually do stand out quite a lot in interviews. Because it lets them know A, what you're reading and if it's current, and B, that you have an interest and a passion to actually learn about the stuff that's going on that you might, do some further research on as well. So it's super useful. That's why I really love it. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
But yeah, there's no more questions in the chat at the moment. So that's good, because I might wrap the stream up because it's almost 12:30 a.m. and I got to get to work in like 7 hours time. So
no, that's good. Thanks for having me.
No worries, mate. Yeah, thanks for coming in the chat and for jumping in and saving the stream. I do appreciate it a lot. It's been good. We'll have a better chat another time about some other stuff. So I'll definitely hit you up probably tomorrow or something, my time.
On, if you want. So what's 4:30 Eastern time in Australia? Do you know off the top of your head?
I think that's like mid-afternoon. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, it'd be morning. Yeah.
It's easy. Here, let me do it. I know it's
we'll figure it out. Yeah.
On stream, but you're in the Eastern time zone of Australia, right?
Yep. Yeah, Australian Eastern.
So it's
AEST plus 10. Yep.
Yeah. So it's 8:30 a.m. for you. If you want, I do streams Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and oddly enough, I'm booked out for months, but my February 17th guest just canceled yesterday. So if you're feeling fancy and you want to get up in my stream, I'd love to host you over at Simply Cyber.
Next week, yeah, man. I'll let you know because I need to figure out where I am on that day. So I might be at a client or not, but I'm not sure yet. But I'll let you know. Yeah, for sure.
I'll send you a link, and if it doesn't work out, that's fine. I mean, it's completely
yeah, that's good. So. Yeah, sweet, man. But yeah, thanks for coming on. It's been good. Thanks for everyone for joining. This video will go up public on YouTube in, I don't know, half an hour or so, whenever they process it. And yeah, be sure to come along next week. I will be talking to, sorry for turning off your camera on the stream there for a second. Next week is Live Overflow, apparently. So that'll be interesting to have a chat with him about what he's up to and doing. So yeah, thanks for coming on again, dude. It's been a pleasure talking with you on this very impromptu live stream. And yeah, thanks for coming in clutch.